The twin suns of Arinder, 9 sank slowly beneath the horizon, casting blood-red streaks across the sky. The capital city of the Valen Empire, the Lys, shimmered with metallic spires and suspended walkways, its beauty a cruel contrast to the shadows creeping in across the empire. Within the walls of the royal palace, tension pulsed like a living thing. Captain Cale Drayden limped through the palace corridors, his armor scuffed, his back aching more than usual. The spinal reinforcement he had once relied on was useless now. He had shattered it himself yesterday to block a plasma strike aimed at the royal heir, Princess Leora. Pain radiated through every nerve ending, but Cale had learned long ago that pain was a currency he could afford to pay, if the cost meant keeping the Empire alive. Captain Drayden, a voice whispered from the shadows. Cale's hand instinctively went to the hilt of his energy saber, but he recognized the voice instantly. Lieutenant Myra Solis, one of the few who knew the full extent of his actions, stepped into the dim light. "Don't tell me you're going to lecture me about field protocol again," Cale rasped, though a wry smile tugged at his lips. He adjusted his gait, wincing as his body protested. Myra frowned. "You've gone beyond reckless. The spinal fracture alone would have killed a normal human. Yet you—" She paused, taking in his bloodied uniform, the stiff, unnatural angle of his back. "You did it for her." Cale's gaze drifted toward the throne room. Through the glass walls, he could see Leora speaking with a council of ministers, her every movement a picture of calm and regality. But he knew better. Behind that composure was a fire that only a few could see. He had seen it when she had survived the ambush at the Cerulean Gate, when she had refused to surrender the heirloom medallion to the invaders. He had shattered his spine for her, not because she was fragile, but because she was indispensable. The ambush had been precise, a well-coordinated strike from the Shadow Reavers, an insurgent faction with cybernetic enhancements and hatred for the Valen bloodline. Cale had known they would target Leora first, and when the plasma blast had streaked toward her, he had vaulted in front of it, twisting his body so the energy slammed directly into his back. Bones snapped, nerves seared, but the princess was unharmed. Now, days later, Cale lay in the infirmary, unable to move without excruciating pain. Yet he refused the healing stimulants the medics offered. They would stabilize his body, but bind him to machines he hated, turning him into a vessel that could move but never again act freely. Instead, he chose the slow, agonizing recovery, a reminder that the price of protecting Leora was written in his very spine. Footsteps echoed, this time heavier. Leora herself entered, her regal presence commanding the room even in the sterile light of the infirmary. She knelt beside him, her fingers brushing lightly over the jagged line along his back, careful not to touch where the nerve endings flared. "Cale," she whispered, voice steady yet tinged with awe. You shouldn't have done this." Cale met her gaze. Pain, defiance, and something unspoken flickered in his eyes. "You're the future of the Valen Empire. Without you, this city, this people, they'd burn. I'd rather my spine shatter than let that happen." Leora's eyes glimmered. There was gratitude, yes, but also something else, an understanding that went beyond words. "You're bound to me now," she said softly. "Not by orders or duty, but by what you've sacrificed. I will not forget this." The bond between protector and heir was no metaphor in the Valen tradition. When a human gave their life, or body, so completely for a royal, a psychic tether often formed, subtle yet unbreakable. In Cale's case, the bond was immediate, palpable, like a thread of energy linking his pain to her awareness. Every twinge of his spine resonated within her mind, a constant reminder that he had given everything. Days passed and Cale's mobility, remained limited. He crawled through the palace halls, relying on custom exoskeletal supports that amplified the little strength he retained. The Shadow Reavers were still at large, plotting their revenge for the failed ambush. Intelligence suggested they had infiltrators even within the lease, making every step outside the infirmary a calculated risk. Yet Kale insisted on accompanying Leora on strategic inspections. He refused to let her face danger alone, even if it meant dragging himself through hallways and leaping from hover pads on broken limbs. One evening, during a council briefing, the first true test of their bond came. Reports had come in of a Shadow Reaver strike on a key energy nexus powering the outer defenses. The council debated evacuation versus counterattack, but Leora's decision was immediate. "We strike," she said. "We cannot let them dismantle our defenses from the inside. Kale will lead the response team." Kale's body tensed. "You're not coming." "I am," Leora countered, her gaze unwavering. "Because you shattered your spine for me. Because we are bound. I do not fight alone while you suffer in silence." The mission was perilous. Kale led a small squad of elite guards through the labyrinthine energy conduits beneath the city. Every movement sent sharp jolts of pain through his body, but the psychic tether to Leora gave him a kind of clarity. He could anticipate her decisions almost instinctively, guiding his squad with a precision that even his broken spine could not diminish. The Shadow Reavers had anticipated a counterattack. Cybernetic assassins emerged from the shadows, plasma blades slicing through the conduit air. Kale fought with a combination of strategy, raw willpower, and his psychic connection to Leora. Every swing of his saber was calculated, every movement a dance of life and death. At one point, a Reaver lunged directly at the princess via the conduit observation deck. Kale threw himself in front of the attack, catching the blade in his forearm. The pain was unbearable, but the bond flared, a surge of adrenaline and psychic resonance that gave him strength. By the end of the mission, Kale was barely able to stand, his body a map of fractures and burns. Yet the Shadow Reavers were defeated, their plans unraveled. As he fell to his knees, Leora rushed to him, supporting his weight. "You're a fool," she whispered, pressing a hand against his chest. "A magnificent, reckless fool. And yet, I owe you more than words can say." Kale smiled, a thin, pained curve of his lips. "Then say nothing," he murmured. "Just stay alive." The incident solidified their bond. It was no longer merely a psychic connection. It had become a partnership, forged in pain and shared survival. Leora began consulting him directly on military strategy, his insight sharpened by the tether. He could feel her confidence, her fears, and her calculated risks. His body, though broken, became an instrument of their unity, his limitations countered by her guidance, her presence amplifying his strengths. Months passed. Kale's spine healed partially, enough for him to walk with assistance, though he would never again move freely without the exoskeletal brace. The Empire recognized him not just as a protector, but as a hero who had literally shattered himself for its survival. Murals were painted, songs composed, but none captured the essence of what he had done, for it was a bond beyond sight or sound. Even within the royal court, whispers circulated. Some feared that the bond gave Leora too much influence over Kale's decisions. Others worried that Kale's loyalty might override the heir's judgment. But those who truly understood the nature of their connection knew it was symbiotic, each amplifying the other. Together, they became a force unparalleled in the Valen Empire's history. The true test came during the Siege of the Lease, nearly a year after the incident that had shattered Kale's spine. A coalition of rogue systems, emboldened by previous Reaver attacks, launched a massive assault on the capital. Leora, with Kale at her side, orchestrated the defense. The bond allowed Kale to anticipate enemy maneuvers, to coordinate strikes with near-telepathic precision. His body, though damaged, moved in concert with hers. During the climax of the siege, a massive orbital cannon targeted the palace. Kale, understanding the trajectory before the technicians could calculate, positioned himself in the blast corridor. He had learned from before, he could no longer throw himself entirely in harm's way without risking death, but he could manipulate the energy field using the psychic bond with Leora. The cannon fired. Kale's body was engulfed in a plasma halo. Pain seared every nerve, and yet the psychic tether pulsed like a heartbeat, sharing agony and intent with the princess. The blast was diverted, the palace spared, and the attackers forced into retreat. When the dust settled, Kale lay in the ruins, scorched and broken, but alive. Leora knelt beside him, tears in her eyes, her voice trembling with emotion. "You are the heart of this empire," she said, pressing her forehead against his. "I am nothing without you." Kale, gasping for breath, managed a weak laugh. "And I am nothing without you." They remained in that position long after the city was secured, a human protector and the heir bound not by duty alone, but by sacrifice, pain, and an unbreakable psychic tether. From that day forward, no one doubted that the Valen Empire's survival depended not just on the bloodline of its heir, but on the shattered spine of the man who had given everything for her. In the chronicles of history, Kale Drayden would be remembered as the man who bound himself to a princess with his own body, a testament to human resilience, loyalty, and the extraordinary lengths one could go to protect life itself. And Princess Leora, who ruled with wisdom and compassion, would always carry a part of Kale within her, literally, through the bond that connected them beyond pain, beyond death, and beyond fear. For in the vastness of the galaxy, it was the humans who endured the impossible, who sacrificed everything for others, who proved that even a shattered spine could become the backbone of a civilization. As the dust settled over the Lys, the city bore scars of battle, smoldering ruins, shattered walkways, and scorched walls, but the royal palace stood. The fires of the orbital cannon had left marks on the palace's outer facade, a permanent reminder of the siege. Yet within its walls, life continued, and more importantly, the Valen Empire had survived. Kale Drayden lay in the central chamber of the palace infirmary, his exoskeletal brace humming softly as it supported his fractured spine. He was exhausted, every movement sending jolts of agony through his body, but his eyes followed Leora as she moved gracefully through the chamber, giving orders and checking on her people. Leora paused by his side, gently brushing a lock of hair from his brow. "Kale, the council has declared this day a victory in your honor. Statues will be commissioned. Songs will be written. But I need you to know something more important." Her voice softened, carrying both warmth and authority.
"You are bound to me, yes.
But not just as protector and heir. You are my anchor. You remind me of what it means to fight for more than titles or power. You remind me what it means to be human." Kale managed a weak smile, the pain etched into his expression. "I've always known my life was yours to guide, Leora. But it seems in saving you, I've also saved myself, in a way I didn't understand until now." A soft light flickered across the chamber as medics and aides worked quietly around them, ensuring the princess's safety and Kale's continued recovery. But in that moment, there was only the two of them, bound not by duty alone, but by shared sacrifice, trust, and the psychic tether that would forever link their fates. Weeks later, Kale could walk unaided, though his movements remained careful. The exoskeletal brace was no longer a necessity, but a symbol of what he had endured. Every time he moved, every time he spoke with Leora, the bond pulsed subtly, a constant reminder of their intertwined destinies. Under his guidance and the princess's leadership, the Valen Empire rebuilt faster than anyone expected. Former enemies, witnessing the unity and resilience of human determination, began seeking alliances rather than war. Kale and Leora's bond became legendary, a tale of human perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds, inspiring countless stories, songs, and histories across the galaxy. One evening, as the twin suns set once more over the Lys, Leora and Kale stood atop the palace balcony, overlooking the city that had survived because of them. "You could have let yourself die," Leora said softly, her eyes reflecting the dying suns. "I could," Kale replied. "But humans, we endure. We rise again, even when broken. That's what I am. That's what we are." Leora turned to him, a smile touching her lips, filled with warmth and unspoken admiration. "Then let us rise together, Kale. Not just as princess and protector, but as partners. The Empire will always have its walls, its armies, and its fleets, but it is people like you and me who make it endure. People willing to give everything for what matters most." Kale reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining, a tangible extension of the bond that already existed between them. Together, he echoed, the word carrying the weight of countless battles, sacrifices, and victories. And so it was that the Valen Empire endured. Not because of technology, strategy, or luck alone, but because of the indomitable spirit of humanity, the courage to protect, to endure, and to sacrifice without hesitation. Kale Drayden, who had shattered his own spine for the heir, became a living symbol of that spirit. And Princess Leora, bound to him through pain and triumph, ruled not as a monarch of fear or command, but as a leader strengthened by the humanity around her. In the chronicles of the galaxy, it was said, "The humans endured when all else fell. One man's broken spine saved an heir, an empire, and the hope of a species. And through that sacrifice, the bond forged in pain became the backbone of civilization itself." As night fell over the Lys, Kale and Leora remained on the balcony, silent but united, watching over the empire that had survived because of them. The psychic tether between them pulsed softly, a reminder that some sacrifices leave scars, but also a legacy that no enemy, no time, and no force could ever erase. In the end, the heir and her protector were not just bound, they were inseparable, a testament to the enduring strength of humanity and a story that would echo across the stars for generations to come.